Thank you, Madam Secretary. Does anybody have any questions about the March minutes? Any questions or corrections?
Do you mind to drop that link again in the chat?
Madam Secretary, are you able to do that? Should drop the if you drop the agenda for tonight's meeting, there's a link already to the March minutes in there, so folks should be able to view it there as well.
I'll drop it right now. One moment.
Thank you.
It's in there.
Thank you. We'll give folks just a minute to look over it, and then we'll move to approve.
I apologize. This is Cherie Meeks in Tucson. I see that my name was not included in the meeting on the 28th.
I apologize. I'll make that correction right now.
No worries. Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have any other questions or corrections for the March minutes? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
I motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice President. All in favor, say aye.
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 I know there's definitely more than two people here.
We need your comments for the minutes, please, guys.
I don't know if you heard me, Sarah, but I said aye.
Thank you.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Thank you, friends. Any nays? Any abstentions? Minutes approved. Mr. President, would you like to take over?
Please, thank you. Good evening, everyone. As I always say, I appreciate everyone for being on tonight's call. We will not dally long so we can get back to our night. It's for me, it's the draft night, so I'm really excited about getting back in front of the TV, but we got business to take care of, so let's get it done. With the agenda items going forward right now, we are talking about election and PAC mandates. So a couple of things I want to talk about. If your branch does not have a PAC as of right now, or somebody you have identified who can be a PAC, we need to get on that ASAP. This year, you know, Arizona as well as 16 other states are battleground states. So national is requiring that we do a lot as far as making sure that each one of our counties are represented and as each one of our branches are represented. So if you have someone that you can identify that is ready to get up and get to speed, or if you have a political action chair that does not mind supporting other branches at the time to get things that we need done, I appreciate it. We get on that. DL is the state PAC, so if you need to get in contact with him, you're more than welcome to reach out to him. You can reach out to Sarah. Sarah may be going on sabbatical, so for right now, you can reach out to her until we find out for sure. However, we need to get that done. So if you don't have a PAC chair, and I'm not talking about somebody that's just doing voter registration and voter engagement, I'm talking about a true PAC, because there are table events that are coming up that we need to be at. Matter of fact, there's one coming up. I'll make sure everybody gets this flyer. It is my rights, my democracy, your voice, your vote is your voice to be heard. It's their it is sponsored by the National organization for women voters of Arizona. Theirs is being held on Saturday, May 4th at 10 to 3 at the UFC Local Hall 99, 2401 North Central in Phoenix. We have 2 tables for that event. If anybody wants to actually go to the event, it's $30, but the tables don't cost us anything. They're providing the tables and the chairs. I'll be out there. I want to see if we can get anybody else out there, and I want to see if we can get some youth out there. So this is a voter engagement, a voter registration event. However, on the flip side of that conversation, I also want to look at how can we possibly build our branches at this point as well. Right now, our numbers are good. Some people are getting more members than others, but I think that this is a good opportunity for us to be able to get some members involved because of the totality of need and the responsibility of voters in Arizona right now, being that this is a battleground state. And we need to also make sure that we are representing from the bottom up, because we have a lot of individuals who are running in places that we need to see our folks in those places. So we need to make sure that we're really supporting without being, remember, we're nonpartisan, y'all. So we have to do it in a way where we are supporting the ideas, not the candidate. What you do in your own personal life is your business, but what we do as an organization, we have to stay compliant. And that is that we can't vote for, I mean, we can't verbally represent any candidate, but we can verbally represent an idea or something that we know benefits our communities. But that information for that event on May 4th, I will get you that information. On June 8th at Pilgrim Rest, there is a state conference funded or state conference supported all candidates forum. These candidates will be possibly, we're looking at getting the senators there. So we're trying to see if Kari Lake will come out. We're trying to see if there's other individuals who are running for that seat. Trying to see if he'll come out. But we're also looking at those individuals that are running for congressional seats, as well as seats in judges that are running, anyone that's running at the bottom of the ticket that wants to come out to that candidate forum. We're also sponsoring tables there as well. So we need to make sure that we're linked up to that. DL does have that information. Roy Tatum has that information. I also have it, and the state conference presidents have it. So if you need it, make sure we'll get it to you. If there's anything going on down in Tucson, if there's anything going on in Sierra Vista, if there's anything going on up in Yuma or any place that you may need some assistance with anyone from the state conference or anyone from the branches that are close, please reach out. Let us know what you need so we can support each other. Absolutely. Their board of pardons, judges, school boards, everybody is running. All those candidates are being invited to the one at Pilgrim Rest on June the 8th. So we're trying to make sure that we're getting things done. We just make sure that we want to give National every opportunity to see that Arizona is in the fight and that we are submitting everything to them that we do. So if you're doing something in your unit, make sure that we get a copy of it and that we can forward it to the national board that's running the elections for national. Hey, the Zoom update, because I see a lot of new stuff at the bottom. Okay. I have a program that I'm running. I ran it past my board. I ran it past DL. We thought it was a great idea. So here's what it's called. It's called the Arizona Conference, State Arizona Conference Branch Voter Registration Challenge. So what this challenge is, the dates are a little off. We're going to redo the dates, but here's where it is. We're looking at the branch that registers the most individuals between May 1st and July 1st, because we know that everybody has to vote by the 31st of July. They moved up the date. We have to be ready for that. So we need to make sure that we're working in conjunction with the dates that Arizona and Maricopa counties change, or Arizona state change, period, as far as when the elections go out or when is the last day to register and the date to vote. So that May 1st to that July 1st date, any branch that signs up the most voters, the state conference will give them a check for $700 to the branch. The next one is an additional $350 if you sign up the most 18 to 25 voters. So those that are able to vote in November that are turning 18, we want to capitalize on those voters. We want our young people to engage with them to make sure that they know why it's important to vote. Not just a conversation of if you don't vote for one, you give the other guy the vote. That's not what young people want to hear. So a lot of times they want to hear from youth that know and are involved and engaged in voting. I know Dr. Meeks has a great group down in Tucson. West Valley has now gotten a rock star group of youth. Ms. Sears and President Sears in East Valley has gotten a large group now that we're trying to get together. And I believe that since the HBCU, Dr. Harden has gained quite a few youth. So we want to put our youth to work. We don't just want them in the branch doing anything. We want to make sure they're working. I know Dr. Worley has a great group at Phoenix College. So they have been doing working with DL to do some voter registration drives. We need to capitalize and keep going on that. Excuse me, guys, somebody at the door, so the dogs are gonna bark, so I apologize. The other thing is that those 18 to 25-year-olds that the branch that brings the most individuals in is $350. So the branch that brings in the most registered voters between adults and 18 to 25 could possibly get a check for $1,050. That is going to be given to the branch as of once everything comes in and we have everybody registered, and those things have to be proven. So branch secretaries, you might need to do a spreadsheet. However you need to prove that, we need to come up with an idea of how that's proven. But once that's done, those funds will be released. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, I think this is a great time for Brother DL to share again about the QR codes that the Secretary of State's office has, so that I think that's a way for them to track which branches are registering folks, because they can be, yes.
Perfect. Is he on? I don't see him. So if he's not on,
It doesn't appear he's on though, sir.
okay. So then, Dr. Meeks.
Well, I had a question because I know that he has been encouraging us to use unique URL, but I know on that voter protection national meeting, they were encouraging vote.org and said that if we went to follow up this link, they would provide us with a very specific to our branch link. I have done that, I think, 3 times and haven't received anything back. So my concern is, how will we track who we register if we are choosing a method that is perhaps folks click on a QR code, so they are touching their own phone, they're doing their own thing rather than taking paper and having to turn them in and, that kind of thing. So I just feel like there might be some mixed messages, and some of you, I'm sure, were on that call and may have also noticed that there was a lot of things that we have to wait for, things that are coming in May, things that are coming later, the state guides and these kinds of things that they just don't have prepared. So my concern is just that, waiting for these materials, just puts us at a disadvantage for registering. And then if we're using one unique URL or vote.org or when we all vote, or, there's so many platforms. So it just might be helpful for us to make a decision statewide what we will use, because I feel like I'm getting mixed messages.
And I'm glad you said that, Dr. Meeks, because that is the problem that Sarah and I have been having with National since January 1st. We have asked them over and over and over and over for things that we need to be productive in what they're asking us to do. And we always get, okay, we'll get it to you, or it's coming, or you guys will get it, or it'll be in your email, check your spam. I am so tired of hearing that. I don't know what to do. So if y'all see me act a fool in Vegas, just don't pay me no attention. Just leave me alone. Let me handle it. But I think that Arizona, if I was a conspiracy theorist, I would say they're trying to sabotage us because they don't like the fact that we are aggressive and that we are doing what we're supposed to do. So we have to keep challenging them. But I do like the fact that you say, if we as a state decide what would be the best format for us to use, for us to track, I think that's something we can all agree on. Then I think that's something we should do, because there are too many platforms that everybody can use. But the idea is to track, and I'm not looking to pat anybody on the back or give anybody kudos. I know this work takes time and it takes effort. And we don't get paid for this work. We work hard, and the folks at National that get paid, they usually tend to, do what they do, but we're the ones on the front line. So my thought process is for those branches that are really putting in the sweat, the least I can do is say, hey, here's some money for your bank account, because we cannot survive off of memberships alone. So we can come up with an idea, or if we can form a committee that maybe can reach out to each other, maybe say May 5th with an idea of how what unique tracking system we should use as a state, then we can come up and say, okay, this is what we're going to use. And then everybody will know what to use to track their voter engagements. Does that sound fair? Any thoughts? Good people, I don't want to say this to be stupid or sound disrespectful, but this is an interactive meeting. I need to hear from you guys, because if you're not voicing your opinions, I don't know what you're thinking. And I'm truly meaning to try to do the best job we can to make sure that our state shows up where we need to show up, but it takes your voice. I can't do this by myself.
I think what's happening partly is the echoing of understanding and agreeing with what Dr. Meeks said, because the QR code that we're using is the QR code that the county recorders and other people will have. Like if I'm just quick and I pull up something that gets people to vote, there is no way that it tracks back to the branch. So I totally agree with what she said. So it was like a kudos. I did a thumbs up and just kind of that. So I guess I should just, I've been doing the reactions because I got some stuff going on in the background. So I just silenced that for a minute. But that's, we're tracking.
So I appreciate that, but the thing is, this is being recorded. So if anybody wants to go back and challenge something, the recording will say, oh no, this is what was said. So the reactions are great, but they don't get recorded. So that's why I'm trying to make sure that we are vocalizing how we feel.
President Holt,
If I could, go ahead.
I'll just mention that you can create unique QR codes for each branch free of charge, and it will track how many times it's scanned. That doesn't tell you for sure that they registered. I think that's data that really only the county recorder is going to have. But as far as just like how many times has somebody scanned there, you can do it in a matter of seconds and for free.
Yeah. So let me just jump in here. When we went to the county recorders, there is a QR code that you could have. Each branch can actually set up their own, and then you can get the actual results from the county recorder's office. They offer that to all of us and also to all the fraternities and sororities. So I think it's already in place. What I would do is get a hold of DL, right? And because he's the political action chair, and I know that he has that information because he was there with us. So there is a way that you can track it. I would recommend that you have a QR code for each branch. And then that branch has that unique QR code, which would track anybody that they registered, and it would verify that they're registered.
Thank you, Dr. McIntosh. So let's get with DL. I'll get with DL tomorrow. Sarah will get with DL. We'll catch up with him if he don't get on the call before the night's over. And let's process to make sure that everybody has that code of their own for each branch. And then let's get as busy as we can. Like I said, we've got one coming up at May 4th. We've got one coming up at June the 8th. Roy is on now. He can give you more information about the candidates forum at Pilgrim Rest on the 8th. But we're being tasked with doing a job, and voter engagement, voter registration is so important now more than ever. We want to make sure that we show up in large numbers, at least making sure that folks that can vote are registered to vote, and those who are still on the fence about voting, we give them the right information and educate them on why it's so important for them to vote, especially our young people. They have a whole different ideology about voting. We want to make sure that they're getting the right information, especially with the bottom parts of the ballots. We're putting judges back in that should never be judges in the state of Arizona. We got school board people that should be long gone. And those are the individuals we really need to make sure that we're looking at. Plus, we've got some of us that's coming up the post that are trying to get in positions that will benefit us as people that have never really gotten the support from their parties. So it's up to the voters to make sure that they're getting what they need. Sarah, do you have any other comments on that conversation?
Not at the moment, Mr. President.
Thank you. Is there any other questions on that right at the moment? If not, we can move on. AFRs. Lord have mercy. AFRs. So we are still waiting. And since I've been involved in the NAACP in Arizona, I've never seen AFRs take this long to process. I know that some of you have gone over and over again trying to process or trying to submit your AFRs. And they give us these long drawn out conversations. Sarah's been on the phone. I have been on the phone. There's emails back and forth between Derek Lewis and Satay about, getting everybody's AFRs set in place so we can, especially our youth. Right now, we don't know who's in compliance. We don't know who's out of compliance. We don't know whose AFRs have been accepted. They're telling us May 1st. Then someone said June 1st. And I'm thinking June 1st is way too late because we're trying to make sure that we get our kids registered. We're making sure we need to make sure our delegates are registered so that we can get to national, do what we need to do. Once again, they're making this job hard, but we're going to keep fighting until we get what we need. If you have not been able to submit your AFR, we're still working on getting it done because we've sent AFRs. They said they've sent back paperwork to those units that had questions. Those units have not received that. So I've asked them to send them to either me or Sarah or Andre or Ben. Send them to one of the upper VPs at the branch, at the state level, so that if that's the case, let us get them and then submit them to the proper person in the branches that it needs to go to. As of right now, we have heard nothing. So we are still unaware of whose AFRs are been completed or have been accepted. Has anybody heard from National as far as their AFR is concerned?
I
Not
only
yet.
heard from Phil Op after I sent about my, I don't know, 4th email. And then they immediately got back with me. This is via email with what the missing information was, which I submitted twice. So I gave a nice condensed explanation with the reconciling items. It's like reconciling a checkbook. I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And Phil Op said noted. Now I had also copied unit and financial. So they have about minimum four emails from me. But they still couldn't tell me how soon they'll can update it. Do I try for the 5th time to try to upload it? I've never been late on a filing. Never.
Okay, and there's where the problem.
2016.
Okay, and that's where the problem is coming in. They have new people at National. This year, they changed the AFR. If you notice, there were more line items on the AFR.
Yeah.
Ask more questions. I don't think they even know what they're doing. They rolled out a system that had not been tested, and now they're suffering, but they're making us suffer. So,
President Holt?
Yes.
On behalf of the Maricopa branch, similar situation. We have never been late since, at least in the last 5 years, except and this year we were not late, but we keep getting contradictory information. The first time we sent it in, we got an email that said everything's good. Then we got another email that said you missed this piece of information. Then we had an email that said, oh, okay, we got that clarification. Do you want us to just go ahead and submit it? And we said yes. And then, so I think, I guess I'm just sharing the same frustration that the others have heard, because like I said, the very first email we got said everything was good. Then we got another email that said, oh, you missed this item. And then we supplied that information to them. And then we got an email that says, you can go back in and put that in yourself, or we can just do it for you. And then we said, go ahead and do it for us. And
Okay.
then we got another email asking
Okay, and then,
the same
yeah, actually,
information.
you call me tomorrow so I can take the
So-
credit card.
Hey, Ms. Langdon, please mute yourself.
Well, I'm sorry,
Perhaps
I don't know what-
when you're communicating with National, maybe let them understand, or you probably already have done this, but it's not all on our part, I don't believe. It's them trying to work through a new system.
Correct.
And therefore, if they have more errors than we do, then there should be perhaps some leniency, because there's too many of us that are getting conflicting messages for it to seems logically to say that it's us that are making the errors. It might be that office trying to learn the new system that they put in, but we're still trying to, and it's hard to get on their schedule when you try to, and everybody on the call knows that. So,
Yeah.
and that's part of it, is when you're saying, okay, let's have a Zoom call so we can clarify this once and for all. You can't get in touch with anybody. And I think that's our biggest frustration, is not being able to really talk to someone so that you can solve it right then and there, rather than more emails coming back and forth. So we're
Right.
still trying to get it. Which email is right? The one that you said we were all okay? Or are you still missing the information that we've already sent you? So
Correct.
we're still working on it.
I
All right,
agree
Ms.
100%.
And Ms.
They had a problem with their new system, and I get that. I've been on that end before when I was working, but when you put something out that hasn't not tested, they had errors in their form, so it's not capturing what it should be capturing.
Correct.
But anyway, who cares? All I know is I did my part. I saved each time I did it, so I have a copy of each one that's dated. But they don't want that. But I
Okay.
got a copy.
All right. Miss Copeland, could you send that to us, please? Send it to me so we can.
Sure, I'll send you the last hard copy of the 30th, because there were 4 copies, and then the last email I have.
Thank you. And Miss Lorna, we know I've seen your emails as well. And we have talked to not only Satia, we've talked to Derek Lewis, I don't know how many times, concerning Tucson Youth Council. So we are still going through this process. But what I believe, I want everybody to run down the chain of command. I want everybody to follow that chain of command up to the top without just going straight to the top. But I got a feeling that it's going to take somebody, one of us is going to have to or I'm going to have to go straight to at least the VP, because that's the only person I can seem to get. I can't get our Region 1 advisor. Laura Bivens has never responded to none of my emails. I don't know if Sarah had any luck with her, but that's a whole nother argument. But we're not going to just take this laying down. It's just that, you guys are doing what you're supposed to do. Everybody submitted. State Conference submitted theirs in December. We still don't know whether we are right. Matter of fact, they owe us $650. I know they still owe West Valley a piece of change. I think they owe Maricopa some money. We have not received those checks that National owes us. So there is a lot of stuff that's going on at National they need to be taken care of, but that's National's work. All I can do is do what we need to do here. So we'll continue to fight the fight until we hear something from them. The only thing that disturbs me is the AFRs is how they pay taxes, and they pay all our taxes. So April 15th was when everything should have been done. By April 20th, we should have gotten something saying we were all good, or here it needs to be redone, or whatever the case may be. I have never seen it this late, not getting anything back from National concerning our AFRs. Usually by first quarter conference meeting, we have our proofs that our AFRs were accepted. So we'll work on it.
President Holt, how
Yes,
does
ma'am.
this affect our access to the affordable options for registering for the convention? Because you don't get the link until they say that you're compliant.
If you want to really know the truth, Michelle, that ship has sailed. I did get that email. And I'm saying, how are we being punished because we have no proof of knowing when we can register? Now you're telling us we can't even register till after May 1st? I said, that's putting us in a bind for branches that's trying to get youth and get their delegates together. We can't even do anything as far as registration or get delegates together because you can only do it once you know that you're compliant. And that really hurts because as a state conference, we all have to be in compliance 6 and 6 to go as a state conference. And once again, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I got a feeling there's some conspiracy going on. There's something going on that's not quite cricket. I've reached out to California. I asked them, did they get their AFRs back? Some of the branches have told me they haven't heard anything either. So I'm tend to think this is a system-wide problem, not just the Arizona problem. That's why I haven't started hollering foul yet. Miss Talton, I got 5 and 3 of them don't even have the right name on them. So I don't know what's going on there either. That's membership. That's a whole nother argument. Is there any secretary right now that does not have access to Salesforce? If there is, send Sarah an email, send me an email so we can work on that. If you have any problems with, okay, send us the emails because each branch or each problem has to go through a different body. But I think when I reach out to the national VP, that I need to just tell her that we are really underwater trying to make sure that we're compliant and doing everything correctly because we don't have the right information or we don't have the information in us fast enough to make sure that we are able to do what we need to do as a state conference. So I'm fighting, guys. All I can tell you is we're fighting. We are doing what we need to do. I agree. Youth advisors need access to Salesforce as well because you have members. So make sure that you email that over to Sarah and we'll get on top of that. Lord. Sometimes I wonder about the NAACP. Juneteenth, either Vice President Miller or Vice President Tyree, you can talk about Juneteenth, what we thought about. Or would you rather me do it? I know he was on here and disappeared on. All right.
Sorry about that. I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm here. So we decided to, or we talked about or discussed having a community event for Juneteenth, family barbecue, if you will, and getting sponsors to supply foods and things like that. So it also is an opportunity for us to do a variety of things, membership drive, voter registration, just whatever the case may be, whatever we decide to do as an organization. But we want to do a community barbecue, family barbecue, whatever we title it, for Juneteenth at one of the parks. Sarah recommended a park, but we'll vet that out in the next few weeks, I'm sure, as far as the location, logistics, and what we'll need from each branch. The hope is that each branch would, one, sponsor a table, if you will, or a portion of the event, whether that be hot dogs or hamburgers or drinks or whatever the case may be, for us to get together and have a community event from the state conference of the NAACP.
So if anybody wants to know why we're thinking about doing it that way, over the last few years, you notice we've all been involved in, all the branches have always joined into another organizations, or we've supported other organizations in their Juneteenths. But they've never been real Juneteenths. There are either a lot of activities or a lot of folks on the flyers that we don't really deal with based on some of the belief systems that are contradictory to what the NAACP believes. It also does not give us the freedom to do the things on the NAACP's platform that we would rather do because there is no extra voices there trying to say, well, you know, we're not going to do that because we're doing this or we're doing that. I think it's time for the NAACP to stand on its own 2 feet and really support each other, each other's branch, each other's ideas, each other's visions. As we know that there is a pillar, there's 3 pillars. I keep reminding everyone, 1 second, Sarah. We keep reminding everyone that mental health, education, affordable housing, access to affordable, sustainable housing are the pillars. That does not stop the work that you do in your other chairs. Of course it doesn't. But one of the things we look at is that how many times have we gone to Juneteenth or we supported Juneteenth where we're not really pushing what Juneteenth is. So we also wanted to do a youth essay contest where we give our scholarship money to the youth and we give them a topic and what that topic means to them as far as Juneteenth. Because we want to sustain our people, we want to sustain our neighborhoods, our communities. We want to look out for those folks that look like us and suffer like us and work like us. I know that sometimes doesn't look the same when we look at branches that are outside of Maricopa County, but whatever we can do to help you, assist you with your Juneteenth ideas. So if Dr. Meeks, if you're doing something down in Tucson and you say, hey, this is what we're doing, then hey, we'll roll with you. But we need to just know what everybody's doing. I just wanted to see if that works good, if that thought is good, or do you guys have some other ideas? Sarah, what is your comment?
I was just gonna share that, Mr. President.
Oh, about the youth scholarship, about the youth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So we're giving out 3 $500 scholarships. So those scholarships, we want to encourage our youth we want them to talk about what does this mean to them in their era. We know what Juneteenth means to us old folks. We know what Juneteenth means, maybe see medium 40-somethings, but what does it mean to a 16 to a 21-year-old? What does Juneteenth mean? What is Juneteenth? Do they have any real idea of what those concepts mean? So we also want to make sure that we're making sure our youth are engaged, and we want our youth groups to come out because they can speak to other youth. They'll bring out other youth to come out and enjoy a day in the park with the NAACP. Is there any opposition to that thought? Or do you guys got any extra comments to that thought? What do you think?
I support it. I think it's a great idea.
Especially for all of us to get together.
Anyone got any opposition to that conversation?
I don't have opposition to the conversation. As we think about what we're doing at that time, and I know most branches, and especially our branch, have been preparing for Juneteenth for a while. So we're already looked at paying insurances for other things that's going on and everything. So that does we didn't know this was brewing in the background. So this does kind of put us in a bind because with National, we pay for liability insurance for other places that have Juneteenth that we have tabled at and have that visible presence and all of that. So I think after hearing that, we'll have to kind of look at and see what things that we've already kind of started the commitments to, because, we've been getting these flyers and asked to participate and support, like, for instance, Queen Creek. We know all the issues that's going down there. So since they've been having their Juneteenth, which is sponsored by a lot of the Delta sisters, we've been very supportive. So we're going to have to regroup and recalibrate because we've already kind of started on that commitment process and we're not just saying, oh, we're going to say we're going to be there, but our financial commitment. So I will have to, circle back. But as an idea, as we talk about the youth and the young people and all cross-generational, especially with this being an election year and we're in electoral season, one of the things we've constantly talked about in our branch is our Black electoral people. And of course, I know it's another organization, but the Black vote and what that looks like and how we could actually theme and surround that. And what I have in my mind, kind of a theme, is, liberation equals power, and how, part of that our voice, our vote is also part of that power. So just kind of adding to, the power and permits. Yes, it's around Juneteenth, but at this point now, what does liberation look like as we use liberation as a theme?
Okay, so let me throw this out there in that conversation. Our branch is big, believe it or not, our branch is actually big enough to be in more than one place at a time. So if you still had that commitment's already kind of etched in stone, or you've already given your word. I don't really want anybody taking their word back. But there's ways you can still be involved. Like, for instance, if you have X amount of individuals that's going to that, or they're doing the tables or whatever, you still got a large youth group that could come to that other, you know what I'm saying? We have enough members in our, and this is the other thing, we have to get our members engaged in the work we're doing. We need to figure out a way to get them out. The ECs are the only thing that's showing up to stuff. Some members come out, true, some, but not where we have the most. When you look at a branch that's got 100+ members and you only see the EC at events, there's something wrong with that. So we've got to get our members out. How do we get our members out? We start doing events that are catered or tailored to what the NAACP is about, because there's other things we need to understand too. There are people that don't know what the NAACP actually represents anymore. There are folks that don't know that branches exist. That is ridiculous in Arizona, as long as the NAACP has been in Arizona. But we also know with all this new construction, we know that people are coming here in droves. So we need to have a well-marketed plan, as well as a well-informed army, to be able to welcome, invite, and interact with those new individuals that's coming into our state. Because as we know, they come in with their own ideas. They come in with the ideas of the state they left, and they get in trouble when they get here. They get in trouble with housing. They get in trouble with the police. They get in trouble with just knowing the environment that they're in. So we want to be that, not welcome committee, but we want to be a committee that's well-versed, well-informed, as well as well-staffed with events that we can do. Because the other thing I want to make sure is that we are not supporting our branches on just Freedom Fund. In that AFR, you notice there's a lot of line items for fundraising. But we also know that the fundraising ships are drying up. I know I saw Dr. Harden. Congratulations, Dr. Harden. We'll be at the Freedom Fund tomorrow. Yay, we're good to see you. But we know that there is so much work to do, and we can't keep going to the same well. I noticed that, you know, we're hitting APS, Wells Fargo, we're hitting Southwest Gas, SRP. Those individual ships are drying up because they're looking for either other people to sponsor, or they don't have the money to sponsor either. So that means we have to come up with other ideas. We should have a fund where we are trying to make sure that members are supplying some of that $2 here, $3 there. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to say we got to milk our members dry, but if you give them an opportunity to be a part of what we're doing, they will put their money behind. I know that during COVID, East Valley, I think Kiana can correct me if I'm wrong. Roy, you're on the call. When COVID hit, right before COVID really got bad, East Valley members were putting money into the kitty because you guys knew that the work had to continue to go on. So the members got behind the branch and made sure the branch was sustainable. That's the kind of ideas we got to have. Why would you support somebody that's not doing anything? In the last 2 weeks, Shannon has been out, Sarah's been out, I've been out, Rachel has been out at school board meetings. Kiana has been out. We are attacking individuals that's attacking our kids. They need to know that. Roy and I and a few others have been on hitting Dr. McIntosh, DL. We've been hitting every election cycle conversation we can hit. I think we're getting ready to task Michelle with some information to do in some other places. We want to make sure that we show up as the NAACP who they really are. Not just a branch that's been, not just somebody that's been around for 115 years and we don't count anymore. We count, and in the state of Arizona, we have to show up. As I always stick it out there, we are the only state conference that are independent, and I want to keep it that way. So that means we are the creme de la creme, as far as I'm concerned, and we can do the work. We've got to work to get, yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
A few minutes ago, you asked, what did we think about the state conference having an NAACP day during Juneteenth? And I would just add to the conversation based on your question is, just a thought for, would we serve ourselves better to move to maybe something in the fall that is the NAACP's day and call it an NAACP day? And if it's in the fall, the temperature is going to be better for being outside, being in a park, and you're not competing. Everybody's trying to do things Juneteenth. So would we, my thought is, would we have a better impact if we did it in a month when we're not competing with other entities who are trying to use Juneteenth. And we still could get our message out about our three major pillars if it definitely is separated from the same time period that everybody else is trying to use. You know, just thinking we might stand out more if we were, you know, if we did something in September or October. And that would also give us more time to really put out a solid plan that and have a stellar event. That was just my thought, is not.
I like that. I see a lot of thumbs up in the chat. A lot of people think that's a great idea. I think that's a great idea. But I'm going to caution this, and I'm just going to say this out loud. I'm going to caution putting a lot of your money and resources in other people's Juneteenth. I'm not saying you can't support or be involved, but we need to show up to convention the best we can. Last year, we didn't have a whole lot of people. You know, it was okay, but I know Boston was expensive to get to. But with Vegas being right up the street, we need to show up as big as we can. So I know that some branches will support their presidents with being a delegate and making sure that their travel arrangements are paid for, or taken care of, or something on that nature. Some do, some don't. That's not my call. That's you guys. But I do know that if we're trying to get youth, the state conference is still trying to work out the numbers. We cannot really come up with a sustainable number of how many youth we really want to take, because one, they raised the application fees for the youth. Two, it's Vegas, so trying to find affordable lodging is running out because so many branches have already capitalized on registration. And I don't know, once again, some of the southern states I've talked to, they have their AFRs already approved and put in place. But I do know the NAACP is large with a lot of branches throughout the United States. So that may be the problem. They just haven't got to us yet. But it hurts when we're trying to make sure that we can take an ample amount of our youth to these events. So while I'm on that conversation real quick, and I know I hate to jump off of topic, but when we talk about money, it's one of the things I get stuck on. The Kratai is next year in Los Angeles. So it's the same place it was this year. They're just waiting on the date. So the dates look like they're going to be between March 21st and 25th, or somewhere around the 25th to the 28th. They haven't decided on the dates yet, but they've already put it out there. They want the many youth as we can get to Kratai as possible. I'm really dead set. If you keep hearing me talk about youth in college, is a reason why. A lot of us have been doing this a long time, and some of us are getting ready to pass the baton. We want to pass the baton to those individuals who are well ready to take on the next level of leadership. They need to be involved with those things like the Kratai, the conventions. They need to know how those things work. So with me, my tenure is to make sure that we do everything we can for our youth. So once again, I'm not telling you how to spend your money. I'm not telling you not to be involved with collaborations. Hey, I'm all for that. But just let's make sure that we are looking out for our branches and we're looking out for our future of finance, because right now, like I said, the supportive pool is drying up, or it's not as lucrative as it used to be. So we're all fighting for dollars. And it just makes sense that we are good stewards with the money we're using. As long as we can make sure that we're doing what we need to do, one, to sustain our branches, and two, to continue to be effective in the community, I'm good with that. So Dr. Harden, I think that's a great idea. I think that in that case, we'll table the Juneteenth barbecue. We will come back sometime and maybe discuss this in Q2 and set up a date and a time that seems viable for October, September, and maybe do a harvest event. And then let's get after it. I like that. So if all is good with that, we can move on to the next item. Branch committee reports. How do reports work? Chairs send reports to the secretary. Secretaries put those in folders. Those folders are able for anybody to go in and see that has access to those folders. What I mean by access to those folders: state conference chairs are not the babysitters, but they are the overseers. So if a branch youth director is doing something and there is some conversation that needs to be looked at, and the branch or the state youth advisor just wants to see the last minutes just to make sure that there's nothing that they don't want to overlap or overdo, or just want to make sure that everything is in place to support, they can go in that folder and look. When it comes to Q, quarterly reports come to the state secretary. The state secretary then does an overview of the synopsis that you guys can report on as we go into Q, but at the same time, those reports need to be kind of like where we can set them up to where if that person is not in the queue for a rebuttal or reply, the secretary can say, I have the report is viewable. That means you can go in the folder and read that report, because sometimes we don't have every chair at the state conference meetings. However, Q2, and I'm telling everybody now, Q2, because we did not really do Q1 the way we should have because of some glitches in not only the holiday, but just period. Q2 is in July, right before we go to the end of June, right before we go to conference or convention. Let's make sure we have a good Q2. All reports need to be in the branch secretary. Sarah will send out a reminder. Rachel will send out a reminder. Those have to be in. Branch presidents, make sure you are getting with your branch secretaries and your branch treasurers to get informed that everything that's necessary for the branch needs to be in those reports. Because if National comes and asks, we want to make sure that we have them. A branch chair does not have to report or does not have to send a report to a state conference chair. It's not how that works. The only time the state conference will ask you for a report if there is a question from National, or if there's something that we want to see based on what the state conference is trying to do as a whole. We may go in and pull a report to see if it's there or to see what's going on in that branch. 9 times out of 10, all I got to do is pick up the phone and ask a branch president. They usually know. That satisfies me. But if National asks a question, I need to be able to answer that question the way National needs it asked. That means I need to see the report. So Rachel has said,
Bishop, your sound went out.
can you hear me now?
We can now.
Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened. Every night about this time, the people next door got 50 gaming things going on and it interrupts my internet. Okay, so branch secretary, long story short, branch reports go to branch secretary. State conference reports go to state conference secretary. When it's a Q, quarterly report, those quarterly reports go to the state secretary. You should have folders where all your reports can be seen or be looked at from anybody else. But you do not have to send a report to a state conference person. They have the right to look at those reports because they may need to look at them for a reason. They may be asked to find out some information, or they just want to see what's going on because they are the overseer. The chair at the state level is not the babysitter, but they are the overseer. The state conference is the only person you answer to as a branch. The state conference answers to National. That is the hierarchy. So everybody has a boss, so to speak. The chairs answer to the VPs and the president. The chairs are responsible for their committees. Committees should only be 5 to 7 people. Anything more than that, you have a hard road to make sure that you're getting the work done. Now, those committee people, you can do a subcommittee, especially if you're working on events. The co-chair conversation is dead. There are no such things as co-chairs in the bylaws. However, if you have an event, an active event going on, you can get a co-chair because it may be too much work for you to do by yourself. Once that event is over, that individual goes back to being whoever they were. They can be a committee person, but there are no co-chairs, so we can stop that. Not in the branch, not at the state level. If you have an active event and you want a co-chair, that's fine. Let the reports show that though. Everything you do needs to be in those reports. That way, if there's any questioning by anybody, a member, national, state conference, or even a person in the branch. You have that information. Any questions on that? Did I miss anything? Thank you. We're running out of time, so I want to get through this as quick as possible.
President Holt, may I back up several steps?
Go ahead.
The June 8th candidates forum at Pilgrim's Rest, do you know the time of day it will be? Like, will it be during the daytime or the evening, or is that still yet to be determined?
Brother Tatum.
I can speak to that. Would you like for me to speak to that now?
Please.
Okay. So here we have the Arizona State Conference is sponsoring a candidates forum at Pilgrim Rest. Right now, the candidates that we are entertaining are the Senate candidates and congressional candidates. And based on participation, we may include some of the county candidates, being that we'll be in Maricopa County. The time we will have Pilgrim Rest available on June the 8th, Saturday, June the 8th, from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. for this event. And it will be open to the public. And I plan to reach out to you all, especially those in leadership, to let you know how you can participate. There should be an opportunity for us to have table information about the work of the Arizona State Conference and our branches. So we have opportunities for membership drive, for youth membership drive, for youth recruitment, and we can also promote any upcoming events that we'll have. So I just wanted to, if anyone has any questions or would like to assist, as Bishop Holt was just speaking about committees, feel free to reach out to me if you would like to assist. And really, the only assistance that I foresee would be coordinating tables, any tabling, and maybe to run a show. Everything else is pretty much in place.
Did that answer your question, Michelle? Thank you, Brother Tatum.
Yes, sir, it did. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sounds awesome.
All right. Last item I have, and we have 30 minutes or 24 minutes. Last item I have is agenda items for the all-state call. Usually this is a business meeting, meaning that the business that we speak of on this one is concerning branch business, activities, events, sponsorships, concerns about things that happen at National, like with our finances, or if you need help with something that National is not reaching back out to you. That's what these calls are for every month. It is also for leadership to kind of push their ECs to be on here, because I do know that there is a lot of members or EC members who do not come to these meetings, and then they have 1,000 questions after the fact. The more individuals we can get on this call, it's once a month, it's for an hour, hour and a half if necessary. It requires everyone's attention. So let's try to make sure that we encourage our chairs to be here. The conversation of bylaws are always coming up. I have ordered a new set of bylaws for the state conference. If your branch needs them and you do not have the finance for them, I'm starting to see if I can get National to kind of supply some of them because they're still expensive, and they're also out of text because they're 4 years behind. But they still work for what we're trying to do. There are certain conversations that we will have on the next agenda, and that is removal of chairs or anybody that's involved that has not been making meetings or has not been active in their place for more than 4 months. So what that means is, if you are a health chair and you've done nothing in health and wellness for 4 months, you've done nothing since you've been a chair, you have no committee, you've done no work, you've put out nothing in the chair that you sit in, Okay, the chairs need to be invited, so we need to put them on the. Here's my thing: if you are a secretary or a president, you can invite your chairs. You can just forward the email to them. We just send out the emails we have. So if there's a case where we want more people on these calls, make sure our secretary gets those emails, because we will send out all the emails. We'll send out to everybody. But if we send out emails, then we expect you to be at the call. So there are individuals who are right now in violation of bylaws. Sarah has that bylaw on page, article, and section, when she can put it in the chat or she can say it verbally, that requires individuals to either be reprimanded by their branch EC, State Congress EC, and possibility of removal. We have to start doing the bylaws by the way the bylaws are. We allowing people over and over again to just do whatever, say whatever, and be somewhere they ain't got no business being, and we never reprimand them. And then when something goes bad, then all of a sudden we want to reprimand everybody. We don't need to wait till it gets bad. We need to deal with it where it is. So I'm letting you know now, I'm serious about this. If you're not doing the work, then we will put somebody in that place that will do the work. If you're here, it's because you said you wanted to be here and that you were going to be available to do the work. Now, things change. Things change all the time. All we need to do is know what's going on. If you need a sabbatical because of some issues going on, if you need the time off, or if you just feel that that's not the right place for you and you thought it was at first, we can figure it out. Branch presidents, branch ECs, they can figure it out. State Congress, we'll figure it out. But to just not be here or not doing the work, that is no longer going to be tolerated. So you've heard what I said. It's on the recording. So if you get a pull to the side, and we know everybody here is not on that conversation, but if you're on that conversation, then just know that there may be some conversations coming down the line. I'm done. We've got 15 minutes or so open to the floor unless there's some other business that needs to be talked. Shannon, do you have anything for us on the education side? Because I know we got a couple of issues out there.
Yeah, we got issues in Mesa, Peoria, Chandler. We need to start, I'll send out a report on everything that's happened over the past week, because it's like we're getting slammed back to back to back with issues, children being assaulted, suspended, all the fun things, molested, all the good stuff. So we need to start showing up. We need to get more people involved. We need more parents involved. And I know each of the branches has a good sizable membership, and a majority of those people have children in the school districts. And so we need to get them involved as well. I believe Kiana and I already have plans to work on some things with her being on the Mesa board, but we've got a lot of work to do to protect our children. And I think over the summer, we'll have time to really galvanize and get some things in place and have a strong action plan for when school starts back up.
Thank you. So that is do you have a committee so far?
Me?
Yes.
No.
Okay, so we need to work on, because that's a lot of work. Like I said, you know, Kiana's the president, you're education chair. It's a lot of work, and you're dealing with wearing all these hats. We need to make sure that we have individuals. I see you, Dr. Langdon. I'll get to you 1 second. We need to make sure that we have enough individuals to cover the work that we're doing. Ms. Langdon.
Hey, Bishop, I was just going to ask if the secretary got any of the other branches so I can try to reach out. I have a letter drafted. I was going to send it in to you and Sarah to review it, because I want to reach out to them so I can try to start doing stuff with it. So if you have any addresses, all I have is human contact information.
Get with me and Sarah and let's talk about that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any presidents got any questions, concerns about their branches, and any help, assistance that they need?
I did have a comment, and thank you. Yes, Shannon, definitely looking forward to talking to you. Because we have all leadership here, one of the things in this climate and this time, one of the things I want to say about the other hats, and I want everybody here to know kind of how I wear my hat and the approach that I want us as an NAACP to have, and you can ask individual school board members how you can work with them. One of the things I'm not sure everybody knows, so I want to make it clear. When it comes to when I sit on the dais and I'm a school board member, I'm listening like everyone else. I welcome us advocating, coming, say all the things. And what's helpful for me, for people to communicate with our public, because sometimes there's the perception that, oh, Kiana's on the school board, so I need to kind of talk to her and maybe I don't need to say whatever. No, I welcome people coming and talking and saying and speaking and all of that, because I have a lot of people pull me to the side. But what the conversation on the side looks like for me is, tell me what you're asking of us. Even with my voice, it may not get done, but that gives me more ammunition when I'm talking to the superintendent. I'm saying, as a person who is elected in power, I've said, hey, we have a problem. And so then when the public again calls the problem out, it rings even louder. You understand what I'm saying? So I need more people, very much like Shannon's in leadership and she comes and speaks, but we need to tell other people. And we're saying, well, maybe their voices, however they want to come. Again, that community, that committee, part of that work as we get our community members is to have the voice amplified. Because I can have that leadership conversation if you let me know what's up, but that leadership conversation is not about now you shouldn't come. I still very much welcome you to come. And I'm saying that because oftentimes our community feels like they don't, either not worrying about me looking bad. Either way, it's the board is going to be addressed either way, whether it's a side that's with us or against us. People come and say exactly what they need to say. So I welcome us to actually help community members know what to go. And so I'm a resource to say, hey, and I might be a resource to say, when you come, include all of this if this is where we're going and this is what the issue. And I can even give them more information about how to actually have the ammunition that they need, rather than the other way around. And I'm saying this in the leadership group, because sometimes even as leaders, we're like, okay, well, just call Kiana and we'll talk about it. That we're past all of that. It's at point where we need to put people on notice, on blast, and it needs to be amplified.
Thank you, Kiana. I'll get to you in 1 second, Rachel. One thing I do want to say towards that is that when we are out in the public, the hat that you're representing, please allow people to know exactly what that hat looks like. One of the biggest problems is most folks know some of what organizations we stand with or what organizations we represent, and they will automatically twist you into those organizations, and you may not be representing those organizations. With most of the ministers and preachers that's in this call, we a lot of times represent the NAACP, but we also are representing our churches. So we will let them know we are speaking as pastors, not as representatives for the NAACP. So I asked that same thing across the board with everyone. But I also asked the fact that if you are an NAACP member and you feel there's something you may say or do is going to affect your bread and butter, I have never asked anybody to put themselves in a homeless situation. Let somebody else handle it. Give it to the next man. You just do what you need to do to stay safe. Let us do it. But if you are able to be in that position and wear that hat, by all means, your voice carries that much more weight. Rachel?
I was just going to piggyback off what everyone is saying. I was recently given the opportunity to serve as the Arizona School Board Association's Black Alliance Chair, and they are very open to the NAACP coming in and providing some type of trainings. And I see that Dr. Shannon Hayes wrote that as well. So that is definitely something that can happen. We are trying to reframe just the school board associations throughout the valleys just reputation. So I definitely think this is a great opportunity. So, I think we should definitely go in that direction. So thank you.
I also agree. So along with our third VP, Benjamin Rundle, who is a civil rights lawyer and a great fighter for human justice in his own rights, with our criminal justice chair, Ms. Graves, I want to get together and put together some type of training that will allow, with Shannon and others that are in their respective pieces, Diane Post, that when we start doing training, that we are doing trainings that are devoted straight to our communities in the areas where they need the most help. Education is always going to be that place because our children are always being negatively affected by something going on in the school system. Our children are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. They're suffering from mental distress. They are being abused because they are kids that don't know how to tailor their anger. But why would a 16-year-old know how to tailor their anger when they've done everything they were supposed to do to try to get some help? So we want to start doing that effective. Right now, the election is going to be the most important thing for Arizona. But as soon as November the 5th is over, I want to hit the ground running to start next year where we start doing some trainings. And those trainings consist of how do we represent in the school board? How do we advocate for our kids? How are we teaching our youth to advocate for themselves? I don't want to wait on national give us those watered down trainings that they give us that usually go to another state or have another state's ideology, because Arizona is this unique place. We need trainings that fit Arizona's demographics and its situations. Not saying the trainings from national aren't good, but sometimes they don't identify with what we face in Arizona. So I will be putting a committee together starting after, like I said, after the election, that we will start looking at identifiable things that we can bring to the community, and we will start rolling those things out January 1st. Last thing I'm going to say, and I'm done, is we are trying to get a $1, 1 million people program off the feet. In other words, I don't know exactly what to call it yet, but I've got our housing chair working on it, on the verbiage. I've got some other folks working on the verbiage. It will be going in the informant and some other places. But my idea is thinking is if we can get all of us that know somebody, give us $1. And people give us more than $1. I think Danny White gave us $50 toward this program. But what the idea is two things. It is to establish a forwarding account that we can utilize in our state conference. That means if Dr. Harden comes to me, if Dr. Meeks comes to me, if Mr. Farmer comes to me and says, hey, we're going to do this, this, and this, and we need this, 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 and that to make sure that happens. If Kiana comes and says, hey, President Holt, we need such and such to make sure the East Valley youth can do such and such. I don't want to ever say, well, let's figure out where we can get the money from. I'd love the money to be there. I also think that the work we do is so important that we do it out of the goodness of our hearts and out of our souls because we believe in what we do. The problem is we never get paid. We're never going to get paid because that's not how national works. $1 million challenge is to say, if we can start securing that kind of money, especially for our youth, we can start looking at putting money in branches' pockets where those branch presidents can offer a stipend or something, gas money, food, a few dollars based on events or something. We can do something for our own state conference, because when we get those emails from national, what do they say? Oh, great work, but we got so much more to do. And it's almost like it's an alarming email, but we're short $50,000. We need you to donate right now. But we never see where that money goes. We should be doing the same thing. There is no reason why, me and Roy talked about that. There is no reason why we can't supply our own state conference with the monies we need to make our branches stronger, to make sure that we're looking out for our youth and that we're taking care of the people that take care of the people that we take care of. I need your help with that. So once this gets out, I think Sarah has put it in the chat. Join the movement. There's a link there we can share. But the idea is to talk to everybody we know and get them to say, we believe in what you guys are doing and we believe in our youth. Does a national have to have a fundraiser? Does National have a fundraiser that, no.
They don't
National
have someone that they pay to
No,
raise funds?
no, you know how to,
You cut out.
For God's sake, Michael and Isaac are planning a honeymoon and Samantha.
Can't hear you, sir.
Think about all the amazing experiences.
Ms. Walls, can you put yourself back on mute? Thank you.
I
Again,
couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you. I
Thank
can
you.
hear you.
So National, during the George Floyd campaign, during the George Floyd campaign, raised over, from what I understand, they raised almost $300 million. Some of that was to go to lawsuits, some of that was for material, some of that was for PR. But out of that money, we still haven't seen a lawsuit. We haven't seen the United States government sign to approve a George Floyd law. We haven't seen the John Lewis law. We haven't seen that bill signed. So they're constantly grabbing money, but it does not trickle down to the work we do. And we do this work at the branch level in the mud. We get down in the dirt with this stuff. Therefore, I think that we should be able to campaign and get our own funds to work, to do the work we do. So I see that Pastor Miller put $100 up. Anybody want to join him and go graze with him? Then by all means, the link is in the chat. But make sure that we are, until National tells me that's something we can't do, and I have found nothing in the bylaws anywhere that said we can't raise our own money. I just see 2 yards go into the chat. So we put some money in tonight. So I'm not asking everybody to get happy, but I'm thinking that we see that we can do this. I got a lot of thumbs up, heart, claps, horn blowing. So that says that we're on board. So like I said, National cannot tell me why we can't get any money. They don't have the money to give us. Now they have programs that they supply money for, like the political action. We're going to look, see if we can get some money for our political action campaigns that we're doing, because they said there's money set aside for that. We do have individuals that may be going up to be a part of the civic engagement team. There was a grant that was given to the youth by National. We're using that for our youth. Some of that money is going to pay for the trip to convention. We're going to try to get that same grant again next year. But the most part, memberships and the little money that we get off of that membership does not keep our branches running. And it definitely does not help us do anything extra. That's why I said, let's find a way to build our wealth in our own branches. I think Roy had a great.
You cut out again.
Yeah, I heard my name. I don't know what was happening. What did you say?
You say you
cut out
messed up.
Huh?
You would cut out, Bishop.
You had made reference to a conversation we had, and then you cut out.
All right. So the conversation we had, the conversation we had was based on individuals who can write us a check for $100,000 and wouldn't blink. So those are the individual conversations that we have based on, do they trust what we're doing and do they see the work we're doing? I think that from the conversations I've had with you guys and the conversation I'm having in the community, they see a new life in the NAACP. They see more work. They see a new breeding with our youth. Let's keep working on that. It's 7:57. I'm done talking. The floor is yours.
And allow me to just say, I appreciate Bishop Holt, your leadership, because you are leading by example in this space, even providing some of the resources to help us have a presence during the NCAA Final Four and HBCU All-Star Tournament. So a lot of people took notice that we were present and that we were actively talking about civic engagement, voter education, voter registration, at the multiple events that took place that week. And then obviously we had an amazing showing at the HBCU All-Star Game. So we just got to be out in the community, and the more that people see us, the more I believe people will want to be involved and support.
Thank you, sir. Madam Vice President, can you finish us off?
Of course, Mr. President. Thank you so much, everyone, for another productive night. If there are questions that you have or you need to be put on email list, please email myself or Madam Secretary. As always, this recording will be put on YouTube for later consumption if you need to watch it or check back for anything. And with nothing else further, may I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Thank you, Ms. Pinky. May I get a second,
second.
please?
You're welcome.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Harris.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Blessings.